What is happening, everybody? James Hancock here, and back to review the Season 2 finale of The Boys, a season finale that I really enjoyed on the whole, but like a lot of the season, had its pluses and minuses, which I'll get to in a sec. If you're new to this show, this is not the video for you because I will be going heavily into spoilers, but if you haven't seen any of the show and you're curious, I'll simply say, if you like R-rated genre entertainment with heavy doses of social satire, give it a go. At any rate, now that we've seen the season as a whole, I'm confident in saying that I liked Season 2 more than Season 1, and I think Season 3 has all the potential in the world, especially at a time where I'm increasingly less excited about big-budget PG-13 superhero movies geared toward the whole family. The show's taken the superhero genre into subversive terrain that really needed to be explored in order for the genre to reach its full potential. Comic book fans have known for decades that the genre can basically go anywhere it likes, but sadly so few directors these days are willing to make outrageous comic book adaptations like Kick-Ass or Kingsman: The Secret Service. Last year's movie Joker proved that there's this massive audience for R-rated superhero material, and luckily Amazon appears to be very happy with the audience that this show has developed. My one knock on the direction of the show is that not every writer on the writing staff seems to get the joke or understand the tone of the concept, which is based on Garth Ennis's now classic comic. I thought episodes 5 and 6 of the season were a perfect example of this show firing on all cylinders with its irreverent, zero fucks to give approach to satirizing both superheroes as well as our society as a whole. We unfortunately live in incredibly self-righteous, humorless times with way too many people taking themselves way too seriously, and this show did a brilliant job of poking these folks with a stick throughout the entire season. Hopefully, writers like Ellie Monahan and Anselm Richardson will get more work in Season 3, but putting aside their incredible scripts for a second, every once in a while we'll still get a scene or an episode where a different member of the writing staff clearly believes in delivering mediocre message stories. Stories designed to teach us something in spite of the fact that this show is filled with tentacle dicks attacking people or superheroes boning shapeshifters before murdering them. For my money, this show is at its best when it embraces the philosophy of a plague on all your houses, ridiculing everyone under the sun from every walk of life. So we'll see which direction they take things in Season 3. This latest episode had a ton of scenes that gave me a lot of hope for the future of the show on a creative front, so let me call attention to those bits first before I dig into some of my lingering criticisms. First and foremost, the media satire was back in the opening scene, where Homelander delivers a message to kids about what to do in the event of supervillains attacking their school. Seeing the kids grabbing the flagpole like a spear while the teacher grabs a gun gave me this kind of devilish chuckle in that the propaganda was so obvious and so over the top. But the sad reality in 2020 is just how often so many of us fall for propaganda from across the political spectrum, which is one of the reasons that I love the humor of this show so damn much. And there are so many great little details in this episode, like the shot of napkins fluttering when A-Train sneaks in to spy on the conversation between Stan Edgar and the head of the Church of the Collective as he gathers evidence to use against Stormfront. But the big showstopper this episode was when the boys go to work with their biggest mission to date, trying to steal back Ryan from Homelander and Stormfront. We get this epic girl fight as Kimiko, Starlight, and Queen Maeve throw down with Stormfront in a scene that I thought was a clear homage to the end of Quentin Tarantino's film Death Proof. But we also get these great shots of Homelander laying waste to these soldiers as he looks for his son, to the point where he's just covered in gore from head to toe. And I really like the final showdown between Stormfront, Becca, Ryan, and Billy Butcher, but I have to admit that the comic book nerd in me found it to be a little inconsistent, because earlier in the season we already saw Stormfront resisting Homelander's heat vision, and yet somehow Ryan's eye blasts fry her where she stands. I mean, she gets completely cooked from head to toe, losing limbs. And there was another inconsistency where we see Billy Butcher barely getting her attention while he whacks her in the back with a crowbar, and yet Becca is somehow able to slide a knife right into her eye. If Stormfront's truly invulnerable, that knife should have just bent or broken right in Becca's hand. But I can't deny that it was a really cool shot. Seeing Stormfront look so gnarly with her missing eye in the final scenes, the fact that she's still alive at the end of the episode opens the door to a fantastic return in Season 3 with all sorts of cybernetic attachments for her missing limbs and eye. In any event, Queen Maeve gets off the hook by blackmailing Homelander with the plane footage that she recovered earlier this season, so the seven are back to business as usual. A-Train's back on the team, but Deep is not, leading to this hysterical scene where he bashes the Church of the Collective for a lot of the nonsense as taken directly from the playbook of the Church of Scientology. The good news moving forward is that the boys have a clean record. They can go to work for the CIA monitoring superheroes. And our last look at Homelander was easily one of my favorite moments all season, with Homelander jerking off as he looks out over the cityscape at night, bragging about how he can do whatever he wants. I just feel like the moment perfectly sums up the whole flavor of this show. And we were left with this really interesting cliffhanger where Victoria Newman is revealed to be the head exploder that's been plaguing people this entire season. We see her taking out the head of the Church of the Collective before she hires Huey full time. The fact that her character and her job and her district so closely resembles Congresswoman AOC proves that this show is willing to turn its cynical gaze even on the darlings of Hollywood, a creative choice that for me is refreshingly nonpartisan in these hyper-partisan times. So let's get into some of my complaints. The fact that Black Noir is now a brainless vegetable kind of annoys me, because early in the season it seemed as if they were building toward the storyline from the comics where he's a crazy clone of Homelander designed to keep Homelander in check if he ever goes rogue. I think that storyline had a ton of potential, but if you want that story, check out Garth Ennis' comic. But my biggest complaint about this episode is a familiar one if you've been watching my videos, but I can't stand how the show just stops dead in its tracks anytime we have a scene where Huey and Starlight share a scene together. Whether they're discussing their relationship or Billy Joel or their histories or whatever, the scenes between Huey and Starlight are just unendurably lame. They're so sentimental. Even worse is how repetitive and predictable they are, and the overall tone and approach, with the actors delivering their lines in the same predictable wooden way like they're in some generic TV show from the 90s. Tonally, these scenes clash outright with the best that this show has to offer. And as time goes by, I've decided that I'll simply never like the character of Huey. He reminds me so vividly of the kind of people that we've all met, where anytime something fun or mischievous or outright wicked is going down, he's going to be the guy who's a wet blanket that tries to ruin everybody's good time. And at one point in the episode, when Queen Maeve referred to him as Starlight's twink boyfriend, I absolutely howled. So as long as Huey's front and center, I don't think I'll ever regard this show as a complete and total home run. That said, I really enjoyed this show. There's so much to love about it, and I'm genuinely fired up to see where Season 3 might go. But I think that's all I have to say for now. I've had a blast covering this season of the show. If you enjoyed the video, please consider liking the video, subscribing to the channel, hitting that notification bell. And if you want to talk more, you can always find me on Twitter at Colbrex, or just leave me a comment in the comments below. But I hope everyone has an amazing weekend. Thanks again for watching the video, but more importantly, as always, onwards and upwards.